Welcome to the Homeschool High School podcast, brought to you by Seven Sisters Homeschool.com and the Ultimate Homeschool Podcast Network. I'm Vicki, and I am here to talk about starting your homeschool high school year. So, we all have to face it sometime. If we're homeschooling high school, the beginning of the school year comes. And so, for those of you guys who are just beginning high school, or just haven't wanted to think about it over the summer, let's talk about how to get things kicked off. Okay. All right. So the first thing we want to do is make sure we got our planning under control. So what are the long-term goals that you have? Because that helps you with the planning. So, in case you need to review the goals, you and your team can sit down and talk about it. Like, on the day that your high schooler graduates and they walk across the stage or across the backyard, however you do your graduation ceremony, what do you want your teen to have experienced in their high school years? And what does your teen want to have experienced? So those are our long-term goals. We're going toward that direction. Then toward that direction, what should our goals be this year? So do we want, a certain language arts, which science, which math, which social science, so American history or psychology or human development or world history. What kind of electives do we need to build career interests or to be ready for the college if they're heading for college? How much phys ed do they need, or fine arts? Is this a driver's ed year? So you sit down and you talk about what courses need to be covered this year. And then you talk about how long a year do we want to do. And you both should be on the same page as close as that's possible. So talk about it together. So some families homeschool year round. So it's a 52-week school year, but that gives them space to take off, a couple of weeks at Christmas and, here and there, take a family road trip and get like geography logged hours instead of, textbook time. Or some families want to do a 32-week year or a 30-week year. So you figure out together, what's on our schedule for the year. So it might be good to note, if there's some real important events or trips, or somebody's having surgery, or something that's going to disrupt the school schedule. Go ahead and plan for that now, and build that into the schedule. So maybe it's some time off from lessons, and so you work around that. And so maybe the school year goes from September to the beginning of December, and then all of December's off. Or it goes to the end of January and a couple of weeks are off in January, and then kicks back in until the spring break. So however works for your family is the right way to homeschool. All right, then you want to talk about what kind of curriculum is going to be best for our teens. So this can vary by teen and it can vary by course. So some curriculum, teens like to have just a textbook. So a lot of teens like to have a textbook for math, because they know page one and they know what to do. So it can kind of plug through the textbook. Some teens like in courses that are electives or things that they can do a lot of hands-on stuff, like in history. They can do a lot of hands-on learning or experiential learning or videos and stuff. So they like to earn their credit in their history or elective in logging hours. And so, I'll put links in the show notes on how to log hours for credits, an experiential credit. Some teens really love doing an asynchronous course online. And so like Seven Sisters has, online courses that teens can do in topics like human development and health and psychology and Shakespeare. And so various courses that are just nice when you got a face teaching it, so and some extra kind of video things that they can watch, but they can do it at their own pace. So, some teens like to do some of their lessons about 9 o'clock at night, or some do it really early in the morning, but the siblings aren't ready to be doing their schoolwork. So they do some of their work, asynchronously online. And then some teens like live online courses, and they love being part of that kind of setting. And so there's so many of our friends who have online academies that I'll put links in the show notes too, so they can get different flavors of the different kinds of homeschool academies that are available. And then so many of our teens have access to local co-ops and group classes, umbrella school classes, charter school classes. And so there's such a variety. It's so different. All right, old lady moment here. So back when we first started homeschooling our family, it was the early days of homeschool, when we would have truant officer at the door drills. And so we would have to, in those days, fight curriculum publishers to sell us curriculum. And so there was just very, very little available there. Now there's just all kinds of things there, and that's so wonderful. But you talk, to your teens, what feels best. I am a big fan of Seven Sisters homeschool curriculum, of course. And that's because our teens, as we were going through with our Seven Sisters teens over the years, plus the co-op and umbrella school classes that we taught, teens let us know what they liked and what they did not like. And we would adapt curriculum to what fit their learning styles and what really made their academics no busy work. And we would say mostly high school, mostly fun, that they wanted to be inspired. And by and large, we could hit that with them and the things that Seven Sisters offers. Okay. All right. So you talk about like what kind of curriculum then will be best. And you maybe sit down and scroll some websites together and look at some samples and, talk to the friends and all that. All right. And then once you get that settled, then you can sit down and say, what do we want the week and the semester to look like? So, some teens like to do a little bit of everything each day, a little bit of English language arts, a little bit of math, a little bit of science, etc. And some of them prefer to do like block scheduling. So they just do, I am knocking out all of my math in, this semester. I'll take, like 2 months and do all my math and just math all day long. So they'll take one subject for a set of times, or 2 or 3 subjects rather than all the subjects, and do it in chunks. So there's not one right way. So you want to talk about what is your personality and what are your needs, what are your goals, and how do we want to do that? Okay. Now, another thing we want to think about is what are the holidays that we're going to do. So you get a calendar out and you mark those down and make sure that you have time. Teenagers need time off. So what official holidays like Christmas, or just we need some family holidays, and make a family calendar. Teens need to start using a calendar if they don't already. And this is a good time to talk about time management skills. So you say, okay, these are dates we need to have, and we're going to put those on and then schedule our school year around that. You can also sit down and talk with your teen about actual time management. So when they get their syllabi for their courses or course schedules, and they know what's going to be expected when, to use their calendars to put like days that papers or projects are due on their calendar, and then do some scheduling backwards from that, and to discuss that. This is a lot to discuss, but teens are in high school, so there is a lot to discuss. So I'll put links into the show notes for scheduling backwards. It's a tool that helps teens organize their projects and papers and big things so that they don't end up cramming the night before. And so I'll tell you a story that if you've been around for a while, you probably have heard it before. But my daughter, when she was in college, was telling me one time, she says, I don't ever have to cram for exams. And I said, well, tell me about that. What does that mean? And she says, yeah, she says, I just study a little bit every day. So as soon as I get back from my class, I type up the notes and go over the notes. And then when I get to the exam, I just know these things. So rather than, being in class and then not ever doing anything with the material in between. But anyway, so that's how she time managed. And so doing things like planning ahead and doing a little bit every day, that's called time management. So to discuss with teens, what does it feel like for you? Do you think that would work? And what you'll find is that it's a good idea once the school year starts to have some regular one-on-ones with them. So once a week, every couple of weeks, to sit down and say, hey, what's working and what's not? And sometimes you just got to toss a curriculum and get something else, or toss a schedule and get something else because life changed or a curriculum just does not work. And there is nothing wrong with that. One of the most important life skills that we get to learn is flexibility and resilience. And so that's what we call a growth mindset. So when you find something is not working, you go like, okay, all right, that's fine. We're just learning, and let's learn together and get to the other side. So you can see these are long conversations. Seven Sister Sabrina always says, when you got to have a long conversation with your teens, do it over food. And so when she would have conversations, she would always make some snacks and some drinks and or go out for coffee with the teens. And somehow having conversations over food makes it a little easier. I have found that works for grown-ups too. So I'm a big fan. All right. Then you think how you want to start this school year officially, there is a day one. And do you want that day to be the kind of day where you just ease into it? So you do a little bit of academics and then, chill a little bit. Or do you say, day one, we are getting busy with this thing. We're going to do all the subjects. It's going to be a normal day because we got to get used to it. And so you do the whole schedule. Or do you start with some fun things, like start out the year with a week full of field trips and do a different field trip every day and log those hours for something, like if it's a, American history year, how many American history field trips can you knock out in 1 week? So there's just not one right way to do it. And you figure what's your family personality style and what's your energy levels and what do your teens want to do at this time of life, and kind of decide. You start the year calm or you start the year with a bang, whatever works for you. But when you talk about it and you talk about it together, it works. So the main thing you need to know is for homeschool high school, you can do this. And homeschooling high school years are the best years of all, in my opinion. Teens are old enough to be interesting. They can talk about stuff when they have a mind to do it. They can find their interest. They can become who God's made them to be. All kinds of wonderful things happen in the high school years. And it's so wonderful to be part of investing in that. Okay. All right. Well, this is a little bit on how to start the homeschool high school year. In the show notes, I'm going to put some links to some of the cool how to get started information that some of our Seven Sisters cousins have. So I know we have such wonderful friends. We have some homeschool sisters that we have been doing things with, in the homeschool world for so long. We consider them cousins, and we just love doing stuff together. So one of our cousins is Teresa Wiedrick, and so she's a friend all the way from Canada, and she has some marvelous getting started homeschool high school information. And our friend Natalie Mack has such an investment in military families, being a military family herself. And so she has some homeschool high school getting started tips. And I'll put links to some of their materials. And then our friend Anita Gibson at National Homeschool Advocacy has some nice articles and stuff in her group, and it's a really good support system. So we've got those kinds of things, plus resources like transcript information at Seven Sisters that we can link you up to. So check the show notes. We're going to have all kind of stuff in there to help you feel confident. And then do join our Seven Sisters Homeschool Facebook group, because you can always go there and ask questions, and all your seventh sisters are there to help answer them, because there are 6 of us Seven Sisters at Seven Sisters Homeschool. There's me, Vicki, and there's Sabrina and Kim and Marilyn and Allison and Sarah. So who's a seventh sister? You are. Yes. When you are part of our community, you are our seventh sister. And we appreciate you being part of the community, because we're all in this homeschool thing together. Well, God bless you all on this new year. Have fun and stay in touch.